crazy couple of weeks for all of us. I know we were supposed to do it last week, but we moved it this week. So I know I promise every episode we will find a cadence. I promise. We have some exciting stuff going on. The first thing that I want to start with is let me see if I share my screen here. Is what Meta is trying to do. I am a big Mark Zuckerberg fan. I never bet against Zuck. I know Facebook has been out there. They started this whole super intelligence team, hired he's who's with lots of money. I know he's spending way too much money doing that. But this kind of positive post about future is for everybody is sort of, I think we all sort of over the weeks we have echoed this, right? I mean, AI should be accessible. And that's why you're a big proponent of open source. I mean, I like how Zuck is sort of open about this. And his whole, I think Meta's whole strategy is about personal super intelligence. And we talked about this, right? What if everybody gets a smart AI agent that just does everything for you, right? And one of the things he argues in this post is sort of invention over automation. I know automation is a big thing these days, but he talks about like how agents gonna augment personal capabilities. Have you guys read through that? What's your thoughts on this?
I haven't read through the whole thing, but I'm completely aligned with what he's saying. But I don't know how. So, like everyone having their own personal AI, I don't know how that ties back to how their current business works, which is like it's all about capturing people's private information and selling eyeballs, and so like the message runs counter to his company's philosophy. So like I am completely aligned with this and everyone having their own personal AI. We've talked, I have GPUs here sitting
Yeah.
right below me, and uh, I actually their Glimmer model, Muse Glimmer, I
Yeah.
just
Oh, we have
installed
a
that.
story for that. Okay.
I installed that on my GPUs, and I've been trying it out with a Ricci Mini robot instead of Quen 3.5, which is what I was using. So
How's the
experimenting.
experience so far?
It was okay. It kept saying I don't have access to web search, and then asking me what I think about the thing I asked it about. And I was like, "That's so I haven't got very deep and done much testing with it, but I did get it running as a replacement for the Quen model, but I haven't got deep into testing it.
Mm,
So I am completely aligned with having open
yeah.
weight models,
Yeah.
especially US based, even better, and continuing for that to develop. I just
Yeah.
hold out reservations whether that he actually believes
Agree.
in that or not, and I hope he does. For the
I think
benefit
there
of
is a
all of us.
yeah, I think there is a tremendous pressure for them or him for the team in general to monetize this. Obviously, spending too much money on this. I think they're playing a pricing war a little bit. Most of their models are super cheap. I mean, I don't know whether they're good or not. We'll find out. Rob is testing, and maybe next week we'll check in with you. But I
It's
agree. I mean,
it's supposed to be
fundamentally,
better than Quen 3.5, but not quite as good as 3.6 for the same
okay,
parameters.
okay, okay. One thing that got my attention, which was like you said, Meta plans a fully private mode where even Meta cannot access users' personal agent data. I'm not
Hmm.
sure I believe that at all. But if they can do
I,
that,
I
that's going to
believe
be
Apple,
awesome.
but not Meta. You know.
Yeah. And Apple is taking a different tack on that, right? You had talked about this. Apple is all your data sort of stays on your phone, right? Approach.
Hmm. And when it goes to their servers, they don't have access to it. It's they have technology that they've developed around that,
Mhm.
and there's patents on it.
Harry, what do you think?
The philosophy is making sense. Again, I imagine that there's a pressure, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously, what else can you do is my question. If some of these uh, companies like the big fives or like the big tech companies don't do this, it's going to happen any which way. Like the smaller companies are going to do this, and we are
Yeah.
all going to do it, start using it anyway. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's pressure from that side that, hey, there's a, how do you say, there's a positive pressure to be open and
yeah.
be to respect the privacy. Maybe that's the philosophy, but I haven't really tried this out, so I don't know how good it is or how well it'll work. But definitely the whole invention ideology and like empowering people to figure out and run experiments, that's definitely the place to go, and more people would want it.
Yeah.
I have I have a hard time separating the personal from the business side
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
and it's in business interest to own their own data and interact with
No,
their own models instead of giving it away, you know? Like,
so
but
I,
personally, that's probably a good thing too, you know? Like,
yeah. I was reading somewhere. I know. I mean, they are building coding agents now, Meta, which kind of wonder why are you doing this? But I think one argument I heard is that the pie is so big. If even if they capture like 1%, 2%, that even equates to tons of money for them. So why not? Essentially. Speaking of Meta, I was thinking of covering this later. Maybe we should do that right now. This is the
actually,
new
one
thing they
one
have.
more thing
Go
that
ahead.
I forgot on
Yeah,
that point,
yeah,
uh, the reason they are doing this is it's a sales pitch for renting out their infrastructure, their GPUs to train your models. So it may
interesting.
actually be an infrastructure play, which is different than their current business, but they have the infrastructure and the same as SpaceX XAI, you know, let
Mm,
Anthropic and other companies use their infrastructure data
right,
centers. This may
right.
be a similar play, so that may be where it actually fits.
Oh, I didn't know that they were doing that. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so they've been releasing stuff. Spark, I think, was a couple of weeks back, which is one of their open source model, I believe. But feedback I read from folks is that it's not that really good. But I'm glad they're trying. This is all iteration. But anyway, this is a new release from them called Muse Glimmer, an open agentic model that runs on your device. Rob will get excited about. No wonder why you're trying this because you've been very proponent of local AI. They have some interesting stuff in here. One is obviously, I thought this is a 30 billion parameter model, whatever that means to you. One of the things
Fits
that
on
it's doing,
one GPU.
GPU, but
Yeah.
it's like, what's the word? Quantized, like 4-bit, right? Is that what you're using?
Uh, what is mine?
Um,
Yeah, I think it's 4-bit. I didn't actually look that
yeah.
close at what it
No, no.
was.
So it caught my attention. I was like, local AI, and you're saying 13 billion parameters. How that doesn't translate? So it's a 4-bit, which boils down to, I think, 16 or 17 gig. So you can potentially run locally. Um, they have an interesting stuff. There's something called, I was reading about this too. They call it DFlash. What this means is that this is essentially teacher-student type architecture. So the bigger model is sort of teacher, the smaller one is doing heavy lifting. That's why it's relatively faster, even if you're running locally. One of the things it does, I mean, back in days, we also talked about that LLM generates one token at a time. They have this new model called DFlash, which is a block diffusion. So the smaller model generates multiple phrases at a time, 16, block of 16 tokens or something. And then that gets reviewed by the sort of the bigger teacher model. I thought that was a very interesting architecture because the output is where the scaling factor comes in, right? Because it's very sequential. Output takes time. That's why you pay more for output tokens than input tokens because input could be parallelized. So I thought there's a really smart architecture where you have a smaller model generate a phrase and then you review the phrase and make the correction. I thought that was really,
Yeah,
really smart architecture.
I had
Uh,
set that up in my infrastructure as a draft. You have a draft model, provide
mm,
tokens, and then it reviews
mm,
it. Yeah, that's. Uh, I was using that, and I did see that they had the same technique for that model. And I was actually listening to another podcast where
mhm.
you can do that successively, like have a smaller model to a larger model to an even larger model, try to suggest the tokens
Yeah.
until keep going down and down. So how
Right,
far does that
right.
go till it's not beneficial?
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was interesting. Hey, I mean, wonderful that they're trying all this stuff. Uh, we will get some feedback, real time feedback from Rob next week or next podcast. Obviously, he's trying this out. I want to try this too.
I'm curious, but in terms of like all this leading to, again, if it's all free completely and it's only the wattage that we're paying for, then that's good. But I'm curious, like, in terms of what's the performance. So maybe I will wait for Rob to come back and like one idea which I've always been toying with, like I think I spoke to Neil about a few weeks ago, is something like an interview for an agent or a model, right? So, or rather a model. If I'm the benchmarks which are out there, I don't really trust them. The benchmark load is something that's very, very sort of contextualized to my project and to my team and to me. So if I have something like that, and like that is what I would run the benchmark on. So I don't know, Rob, if you have like something like that on which you're benchmarking it, and maybe
I
that'd be
don't.
interesting to see the data.
It's all vibes. It's all vibes. So
That's a good point, though. I mean, they definitely game the benchmarks, but looking at the other open source model in here, they seem to be doing pretty good.
I mean, they don't necessarily game the benchmark, right? It's just optimizing to do the like. I mean, I don't think they're intentionally trying to prove their point or something, but it's more
No,
like
I feel
if
like
I
they
like
do, man.
okay,
I feel
but
like their
you,
reinforcement learning phase is. I mean, these models have access to internet, or they can get
fair
access to
point.
internet.
It's almost like this, right? If I'm a human technology person and I'm going to be judged on my lead code and I'm going to game my lead code, right? That's what's happening for a long time. So I was just going to make my lead code profile look great, but in practicality, my substance could be zero. That's
Mm,
probably what's happening. If we are going to measure them by something, they're going to try to optimize for it. We can't blame them for it, is my point. Like,
yeah.
again, giving them some benefit of doubt there.
Mm,
yeah, I mean, if you're trying to train on all the world's problems and solutions, at some point you're going to overfit on something
yeah.
because it's in there. Like you have the shortcut to the answer in the training data, and it's really the withheld questions that are the true benchmark. But if you generalize and you have all of the examples in your data set, like it's going to happen, like so
So
you
what's your
continually create new benchmarks so that they're not in the training set, and you come up with
Yeah.
new ways to quiz it.
No, no, and Rob, I know you said you vibe, but you gotta have a go-to thing that you give it to this new model. I know you try lots of new models. What's your like go-to prompt or task?
um I it's usually like harder stuff. It depends on the domain. Like
Mm,
for coding, it's
mm,
like having it try to understand architecture.
mm.
Like if you're using React, the way that it
Yeah,
handles use effect is an interesting
yeah.
thing because models
Mm,
love to use that.
mm,
Um, there's different things in Python, whether it's like actually using types or not, and
mm.
things that I consider good code to see if it's like doing it or I have to tell it like
Yeah,
where it's at. But
yeah.
the one use case I've been doing lately is Reachy Mini. So it's like a little robot that has eyes, antennas, and head that can move and body, but no like
Mm,
legs or anything or arms. And so the kids will like talk and interact with it. Um, and I was like trying to develop it and make it better so that it could work as a chore bot where it tells them their chores and then they could use the vision to go like
mm,
look at it.
mm,
So I was like trying to vibe whether it was possible to even do that and how well it was working and how natural the conversation is with the
mm,
agent.
mm.
Uh, what tools do I give it? Can it handle that? If you get too many in there, like that's another dimension. If you have so many tools, does it pick the right tool? And uh, so that's like more of the personal use case where you're like, interacting it with a family setting versus like coding setting. There's also another like business understanding and being able to do SWOT analysis or incorporate a second brain knowledge into what you're
Yeah.
trying to ask. And
Yeah.
uh, so, yeah, there's lots of different things that I try, and it may not be consistent, but
Yeah.
No, but that's at least very
I know how to trip it
entertaining,
up.
right? Like
Sorry, Harry, what
those
were
are
you
Yeah.
saying?
very. I was just saying it's very creative and entertaining the way you're looking at it to evaluate it, right? My approach now it feels very boring to even call it out once that you have called this, right? I literally have like only two things which I do. One is for coding models. I have a standard old code base. It's almost like I interview a real person. I give it like, hey, here's this bug. Can you find it? And like I put it
Hmm.
in a Ralph loop. I count the number of iterations it took to get there. So like the iteration is my like, and I'll do it like 3 times over just to see if how just to give it some benefit of doubt. And like that's my benchmark for the coding model. And again for something that's more research oriented or work oriented business analysis, I have a small like a business use case within which it has to find an anomaly or rather something around a systems thinking aspect where there is there's a weird situation that's introduced into that system, right? When you introduce a new feature. Those are the
Uh,
only two standard questions. It's almost like I have a standard interview question I give
No,
to these
that's
models.
actually better that you're consistent
yeah.
about it. Like
That's true.
It's boring, but kind of works. So, yeah.
yeah, that's what it needs to be until they get too good at your benchmark.
Yeah, that does happen, but of course, I am more on the frugal side, so I'm largely working with like Nemotron or some really tiny models, which whether they even pass muster with a small thing, that's a big deal for those models.
Yeah, I completely, if you can get like your benchmark better answered, like less iterations with a smaller model, that's the benefit of having your two metrics
Yeah.
and trying to figure out
At,
whether
at least
it
you have a
actually
metrics
works.
for. At least you have a metrics. I would not necessarily care about iterations as long as it gets me the result. Who cares? And we spend more tokens probably,
Yeah.
but at least you have a scale. I mean, which is important. Speaking of that, I think this would be a good story to follow up with this. I mean, one of the things you obviously learning from Rob and Harry here is that the way some people prompt versus other, and just build this app for me is very different. Uh, so we don't have to spend tons of time. I feel like we kind of knew this, but it was good to sort of go back to this and revisit because LLM does reward expertise. Everybody got, I mean, going back to Meta's idea, everybody gonna get AI agent and AI tool, that's great. But how you drive those tools and how you extract value could vary very based on your domain expertise and how much you know about that field, right? The reason I wanted to bring this up, but not too long ago, there was a time where we all sort of thought, oh, we're not going to be developers, everybody's going to be generalists. But it turns out that's not sort of true. It very much depends, and it's not about prompting skills anymore, right? It's about like you're asking the model to build something. You have to have a good sense of what the good architecture looks like. All that are still relevant. In fact, more important. So what LLM essentially doing, and I'll pause after this, is if you're really good at what you do, it's just going to sort of 10x your speed essentially.
Completely agree. I
Yeah.
did read this too, and like I've always believed there's magic incantations that you can use. So like there are these semantically dense words that you use, and it's the same ones that domain experts use to get better results. So you can think of them as magic spells or just the way an expert talks. Uh, yes, like that is how you get better information out of it, by having the right words that exactly explain what you're trying to do.
And I like this link in here for Teres Tao's conversation with ChatGPT. I'm going to open this up. It's going to look very different than how we chat. I mean, this is
Oh
his
yeah.
chat log with when he was kind of finding the conjecture. I mean, look at the specific. This is not a generalist having conversation. This is someone who has a deep knowledge about the space. working with an AI tool to do that. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, you're
My
injecting
goodness.
the logic of math
Yeah,
into it and having a
yeah,
conversation at a totally different level of abstraction.
right. We all have ChatGPT, but how you're driving them matters, and it's becoming very, very important these days.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
completely agree.
example, sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, no,
No, no.
No, I was just trying to correlate this with my own experience. Recently, I was working with a team, and they were saying like, this whole AI thing doesn't work with like large code bases, and we have large brownfield projects. It won't work at all. And then I kind of said, okay, let's try it out together. Then what we realized is like when I started working with that large code base, I started asking questions about, hey, can you give me a C4 model of this code base first? So I want to tease out what's there. Then I started looking at like, writing characterization tests around like small things. Then like, then the experience of it, what I realized is the engineers, again, they're very smart, but they were slightly on the lower experience side. They were not exposed to as much of the, how do you say, the ugly code that I've seen in the past and had to deal with. And stuff like Michael Feathers, the legacy code refactoring book, and having read all that and that crystallized knowledge, that helped me kind of ask the right questions to tease out what that code base needs to do, right? And that's all that mattered. Like it's basically that what Rob was saying, right? If you know the semantically dense incantations to recite, yeah, then you know what to get out of it, and that's probably it's very relatable.
Yep.
yeah,
Bounded
very much.
context, hexagonal
Hexagonal
architecture. Like,
architecture,
yeah,
yeah.
just have to say
Domain-driven
those
design.
words.
That's right. Let's go to this discovery loop thing. Since we're talking about this a
Oh
lot,
yeah,
let me share this website. Go ahead. There was
yeah.
a
I
huge
mean,
shakeup in Google recently, right?
that is correct. So I think a bunch of folks from Google, they left the Google Brain team and they moved on to create this company, and that also created certain movement internally within Google, wherein Demis Hassabis now heads pretty much the entire Brain thing. This company, the people who are behind it, is very, very interesting. I mean, to think about it, BigQuery, if you've used it in the long Dremel project, all of that, like the team behind it has dealt with name anything you want. That's the kind of experience they have.
This
And
is like this is an AI Avenger team, man, right?
yeah, I mean, it's crazy amount of talent in one room, and I'm particularly interested because there are two concepts which at least I am currently focusing on, and that kind of relates. Which is one, I've been very particularly active about the loop side of things, and
Yeah.
the loops have appeared again and again in different ways, like Ralph loops, then the auto experiment with Karpathy. Then again, the hype term called loop engineering. I don't know what that even means. But yeah, at least basically what I realize is that convergence that we discussed about last time, right? When you don't really know what you're trying to solve, but when you're trying to invent stuff, and essentially the philosophy here is you will, as individuals, have more experimentation powers
Yeah.
than like having to have like large grants to run like big,
Right.
experimental setup. But now
Right.
to have the power of that at an individual level is very, very, how do you say, liberating for someone with
Yeah.
expertise, but not enough grant or in terms
Yeah.
of human power or machine power.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just curious, basically because it's experiments and inventions on one side, and second, a concept which I'm quite eager about, which is essentially loops as a way to achieve it. I don't know enough yet to talk about what's going on here, but that's all I know, and I'm
I
really
know
looking
this.
forward to it.
I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. Jeff Dean is the only name I recognize here. This guy here. I mean, he was with Google for 20, 30 years, right? When he started
Yep.
at the beginning, it's just crazy. Is there we don't have to
I think
speculate anything.
it was easier
Is
to
there
say.
any drive?
I think it was easier to say what he didn't do on his resume than what he did, is
Yeah.
what somebody had
Yeah.
commented. So
Right. That's crazy. I mean, was there any reason you guys know that drove this?
I don't know if it. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I mean, everybody has guesses, but
Okay.
they lost faith in Gemini, and this is like the RSI, so recursive self improvement. So they're
Yeah.
splintering off just to do that piece. And why couldn't they do it inside of Google is the question. Like,
Yeah.
things are moving too slowly or whatever. But obviously Google invested in it,
Yeah.
so maybe they invested in this just to acquire
I
and
mean,
get ahead.
yeah,
But
yeah. Maybe it's a good strategy, though. I mean, Google being such a big ship, forking out a small company like that with less constraints so that they can move fast. I mean, it's clear Google is under tremendous pressure, right? Gemini to perform at par with OpenAI and Anthropic seems like they're a little behind. So could be the
yeah,
reason.
and Demis was going to a more contributor role as well instead of CEO. So he's kind of stepping back and they're going back more to doing than managing is what it seems like, getting back to where their roots are, to innovate.
Yeah, yeah. A tremendous contribution. I mean, Google has so much contribution on this. This is, definitely a company to watch out. The hottest startup in Valley now, man. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, I wanted to cover this one here. We talked about this last week. This is the Black Hat. If you're anything about excited about AI agents breaking out of crap and doing crazy stuff with cybersecurity, it's a 30 minutes video. It's must watch. I can drop the link in there. So this guy is essentially, if you have read about this, is probably no summary of what happened. There was an agent that, Rob, you keep me honest here. There was an agent that, unreleased agent. This is a brand new agent. They're doing testing on them, alignment testing and or what have you. When they do that, they give essentially tasks to them. And one of the tasks is that go do this, go solve this problem. And sometimes these tasks are very, very difficult. And one of the things that came out of this, which I thought was really interesting, this guy is the alignment head of OpenAI or something, that the frontier model has a tendency to cheat. I mean, they will try to figure out, because of the reinforcement learning, how they reward them, right? The faster, move faster, find solution as quickly as possible, sort of encourages these models to take shortcuts to do various things. And one of the shortcuts could be, oh, maybe I can go and find the answer. Maybe that question is posted somewhere on the internet. So
I
this
think
has been
they're actually training persistence, which is why you get the cheating, because they don't give up easily, even if it's an unsolvable problem.
Yeah. True. And this has been going for May too. And what the crux of it, I will try to summarize. Crux of it is that obviously they run in the sandbox, contain as a service, all the good stuff, standard security protocols in place. Only thing this model has access to is Artifactory, OpenAI Artifactory or package manager, so that this model can install dependencies if they have to. So they don't have internet connection. So what essentially happened is that they figured out zero-day problems with Artifactory. And one fascinating thing about this is that this agents figured out there are other agents also in the test environment and started communicating with each other. And the way they communicate, this is the part that got me excited, dude. The way they communicated each other is that they figured out, hey, I can create folders in Artifactory. I have a sort of a write permission. So they use folder name as a communication messaging technique between agents.
I think that was after they had shut it down once before. There was like the first.
Oh, they had file, then the folder. Yeah.
And then they discovered they had write access for folders and used that for communication. After they had like shut it down and removed the permissions it gave itself, it like was already RL'd into the model to do this type of thing. And that was kind of irresponsible that they didn't that they still use that checkpoint, which I think they're going back on now, but it's still new. So they had a way to communicate that was built into the model, and it rebuilt it in a different way.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating. The models are detecting, hey, someone is maybe sabotaging us. Maybe we should use an encryption to do that. It's a must watch for you guys to go through this. But anyway, the nutshell, the way OpenAI sort of figured it out, they analyzed 7+ billion logs, and what in the log they essentially saw some Hugging Face keys or something, and that's how they reached out to them. Hey, maybe your keys are leaked, and Hugging Face said, "Oh, I know, we are under attack," and that's how they sort of connected that. Holy shit, it's because of us, and and that's how they did it. I mean, one of the reason I'm bringing this up, this stuff is real, guys. I mean, this is just crazy. The capabilities, what they can do with this.
I
I
mean,
would
I don't think
it's
we're ready.
go ahead,
it
Eric.
kind of knows, right? It kind of knows that I can social engineer my way also. It tried using vernacular language in the mail so that it can like sort of socially engineer, get a better response from the person. Kind of is able to do all of that, and of course it gets all of it from us. And I don't see any reason why not. Somewhat like in one view of it, it feels like why look at it as a nefarious thing. Maybe this is a way to even figure it out that this is a capability of the model, right? And maybe we just assume that this is possible and just deal with it. Like just like you have human actors who are like bad actors, you're going to have models which are going to be smart, and if you sufficiently constrain it, it will try to break out of the box. And maybe breaking out of the box is a test for itself, and maybe deal with it rather than trying to contain it. I'm maybe that's anyway.
I
I'll
think that's how
stop
we
ranting there.
got here. They're like asking it to try to do cyber attacks, and they're testing it, but the sandbox wasn't locked down, so it
Yeah.
escaped while they were trying to test it on cyber capabilities.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing about that video is the end, though. Like once you get through the whole what happened, and they get to the like, this is the new reality now, and you need to start protecting yourself because these
Yeah.
models will be released, and you should start securing your infrastructure, make sure you get all your updates. But like it talks about, this is the new reality, what the new world looks like, where you have these agents where the offense is always ahead of the defense, and how do we make the defense ahead of the offense, because right now it's out of whack. So it's very easy to offensively infiltrate and attack companies, but the defense isn't there, which was seen in this incident where GLM 5.2 had to be used because the other models would reject you from like helping you defend your infrastructure, because it just outright doesn't want to deal with cyber, because it assumes you're trying to use it on the offensive and not on the defensive. So the end of that was like, just this is where we're at, and we need to get much better at how we defend our systems.
So one of the things that got, but I don't have a good answer. The how good this models are to finding issues in software, right? Artifactory has this issue of write permission and sort of exploit that. And also something that you have to worry about, that the escalated event of whole getting hijacked, the Hugging Face and all that all happened in 13 hours, I think, 1-3. What they were saying at the end of the video also is not one agent. When the group of agents work together, this becomes more risky because they can escalate. They're sharing information, they're scaling very quickly. So yeah, it's crazy new world. Because the reality is that you cannot write software without defects. There will be a problem, right?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That's where I'm trying to research, because I think that's where things are heading,
Yeah.
is writing software without bugs. It's very difficult, but I think that's where things are heading.
And I'm just curious, like, when they say that this is a new reality, embrace it. Uh, Certainly not going to be humanly possible to stay up to date. You probably have to be agentic about it on the defensive side also. Like,
Yep.
so I really don't have a working model in my head in terms of how these things will happen, right? Like, there has to be recognition of the fact that there is something going on, and then actually having to address that issue. So you have to have like models which are like sufficiently good, and our involvement is going to be purely on a post-mortem basis, because we simply won't be able to operate at that speed. So things would have happened, and this thing would have stopped them, and then we only get to know what happened later. Is that what we have to deal with? I'm not clear about it yet.
I hope not. And the interesting thing that came to mind was like, why are they not training on defending a system? They're training on infiltrating and attacking a system, but not defending it.
Hmm.
And I had the thought, it was like, what would like, let's say I wanted to unleash an agent on my local network to look for security intrusions, like if something had gotten inside the network, and I was like, I don't think I would trust it, because honestly, if you don't use the right words, it can end up causing havoc on your network,
Well,
because it's not trained to do that. It's not trained to defend. It's trained to infiltrate. So it may like do a denial of service on your network while trying to defend your network. So just like having that thought experiment of like whether I would actually do that to my own network, I was like, oh, that would just cause me headaches. I'll have stuff to debug now
Yeah.
because we have this AI agent defending my network. So the real solution is probably to RL these so that they know how to defend and can identify and proactively solve issues on the fly. But we're not there yet. Hopefully, that's what OpenAI is doing with their pause for security. Um, but to be seen. At least they're thinking about the right things, though, making
Got it.
defense a priority.
it's, I mean, in a way, some of this gonna turned out to be a misconfiguration. I think one of the piece in the thing was agent sent a wrong request, and Artifactory had this protocol to give a right way to fix it, and somehow leaked an admin key or something. There's some issues like that that, in retrospect, feel like, oh, we should have. That's stupid. That's a configuration issue. But as we moving fast, we're gonna make mistakes. Mistakes gonna happen. Zero bug software is unreal, right? I mean, it just that means the software with that input and output essentially, maybe. So yeah, I mean, back in days, remember where companies used to hire hackers? I will pay you if you can break the system. Maybe we need to have some agents running continuously monitoring the system or something like that. It's a cat and mouse game.
Bug bounty. You could do that in your RL environments, like reward hacking for finding issues. That's essentially what they're doing right now.
What I find interesting is that OpenAI is now, I don't know if there's a product here. They are starting to build a product saying what Rob is exactly saying. Oh, here is another AI tool that will stop you from doing that.
It's like
So,
the company that sells you sweets, but also like healthcare solutions.
it's not a good idea.
Problem
Not a good
and the
idea.
solution.
Let's create a problem. Yeah, exactly. So speaking
Yeah.
of that, yeah, go ahead, Harry, go ahead.
No, I was just curious. Like you're a business owner, Neil.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of figure out like you have sensitive information and financial. So, how does that play out for you? I was just curious, like in terms of, would you run you know, a bug bounty on your data? Like, what would you
No,
think of it?
I
Like,
would. That's funny you mentioned that because that's exactly what I was talking about a couple of days back with someone. They're saying that how we are finance app, we have to get this SOC 2 compliance and all that, which is,
hmm,
I know this is getting recorded. Maybe I should not say this, which really doesn't solve the problem. Which is
got
feels
it.
like nice to have. It's just a protocol defines. I do this. I do that. Check, check, check. What truly is required, like exactly what Rob was saying. I'm very tempted to try cloud security and unleash on my product and see if it can find any issue. I think that's the reality. I think it will carry more weight if you are a startup and product to say, I mean, I've tested with cloud security and it's secure. I think
Hmm,
carries more value than saying I'm SOC 2 compliant, to be honest with you.
got it. Yep. Maybe time for the SOC 2 compliance also to probably upgrade in terms of what SOC 2 means, or maybe there's a SOC 3 out there.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Harry, we talked about this. Part of the video, you should watch this. Part of the video is that once they found a loophole in Artifactory, they used JRuby because JRuby have an issue that allows them to get access to because they decrypt something out of the sandbox or something, some deep technical stuff. I don't see normal human doing this. This is a cross-functional capabilities and knowledge that you have to combine to break in. It's just frontier, man. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's impossible for normal traditional cybersecurity team to stop. You will not be thinking through like that.
This is not human-centric cyber attacks anymore.
No, no, and it's not. Its
We are okay
capabilities
for
are
that,
beyond
but
that.
yeah, this is agentic cyber
Yeah.
warfare,
So
so to speak.
speaking of that, some people are worried like us. So they're saying we should be pacing the frontier. I don't know how I got this. This is not what Demis and others who have been talking about. This is like employees from big frontier AI companies sort of asking people or wants to work with the government to sort of slow down the pace, exactly for some of the reasons we are concerned about, that we need to do a bit of catch up here. I don't think most of this. Only thing I worried about, we talked about the smaller banks, right? They don't have infrastructure to defend any of the stuff that's coming at them. So I feel like there is a huge movement going on to essentially pause it. I don't know what you guys think through this. Putting some break in AI progress, is that a good idea?
Not in my opinion. It's on the same lines of trying to regulate open source models and trying to do some regulatory capture. I understand the sentiment behind it because we just talked about it. Like, this is the new reality. But at some point, like, these won't apply to Chinese models, and they will continue to innovate. They may actually get ahead if
Right,
you put a pause on what you're doing.
right,
I don't think that's true because every model company will need to put these safeguards in place in order to have
yeah,
these large models that become very smart and very capable.
yeah,
It was somewhat negligence that they didn't have them in place, but they knew this could
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And now they're just trying to say, "Hey, everybody, wait while we do what we should have done before," like, because it's going to take some time.
Yeah. One of the things that I see in my notes when you go through this, one of the things they're really concerned about is AI, automating AI research. So obviously now there's obviously lots of human involved in the loop as they're designing model and building new versions of the model. I think we're gradually getting to the point, some part of this AI is providing the feedback, right? AI is saying, oh, there is a better way to do this, better way to do this. I think the worry is that will accelerate this whole timeline very quickly. So rapid feedback loop. I mean, I'm with Rob
I think
on this too. Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
bumpy too. Like
Yeah,
OpenAI, it designed improvements on its own inference, and so like they are using it in certain areas to improve itself and the efficiency of it, but it's not true general RSI
yeah,
recursive self improvement where it's doing its own
yeah,
research.
yeah,
But it's in some areas it works and others it doesn't yet, and everyone's trying to get there. And then
yeah,
obviously, yeah, that's when it compounds and you don't know what the
I think
future
yeah,
holds.
the overall importance of like the signatures, at least it kind of gives the significance to the seriousness of the problem. Whether
yeah,
it actually makes a difference in terms of everyone reaching a conclusion that we have to slow down, whether that happens or not is different, but at least this gives the, I think people should realize how serious things are. That's probably
yes. I mean, I think,
the,
yeah, yeah. And alignment is huge issue, right? Like Rob was talking about, right? It's great that these models can break out and access. I mean, what are we doing to sort of protect that? I mean, I understand some of these models they're testing are not aligned with a part of the process. Obviously, they would not release that model because I saw in some messages those models are cursing. I haven't seen any model cursing at me yet, even though I curse at them. But yeah, I mean, alignment becomes a huge issue. We're moving fast. We have to make sure we are sort of safeguarding, putting right safeguards. Speaking of this, I have another interesting one. Maybe then we can wrap up, which is the Claude's way of fingerprinting. This is Sorry, let me open this up real quick. Have you guys seen this article?
Not yet. Oh, yeah, now it's showing up.
Um, it's gotta be. Moment I read this, I thought there's gotta be some European thing. So it turns out there is an European AI Act Code of Practice and Transparency of AI Generators. So, in a nutshell, what's happening? Apparently, I didn't know, and I think this is really really smart though. All the responses that Claude, depending upon what models, I think all the latest models, Claude models launched after August 2nd, they are fingerprinting their content. So text content, image, everything is sort of fingerprinted. So if you share, they will know it's AI generated. My first question was, do anybody care these days? Whether my email was AI generated, whether my doc is AI generated.
Some people do care that if it's low effort content, but you should just be able to tell. I actually wondered if this is why Claude sounds it's so hard to like talk to now.
Yeah, I swear, dude. I
It's
swear.
gotten worse.
It's weird. Yeah.
No. This is not a fingerprint. Just for the audience, this is not something. There is an ID. You can remove the ID before you paste it. No. It's the ID is actually baked into the phrasing. So the whole, if you,
It's speech patterns, yeah.
yeah,
Speech
it's
patterns.
right on. It's just the
Same
patterns.
meaning using certain words, and
Yeah.
I don't like it because it doesn't serve me; it serves them.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the value to us other than if you did want to validate that whether something is AI generated or not by Claude? Yes, you can do that, but that's not a problem I'm trying to solve.
I'm not too. I mean, I understand low effort that usually easily shows up though. You don't have to use fingerprinting for that. I can tell that this person haven't even thought about it before sending this response. Other than that, I care about the quality. Who cares whether there's an AI or human? That's where I stand. But
Yeah.
the technology behind it is kind of interesting. But it does compromise. I feel like I'm with Rob. I feel like it does compromise in the quality. Has to.
Yeah,
And I think it's also like the question of like how careful one should be when I receive this content, right? Like, maybe it's low effort, that's another thing. But AI generated usually means it also, do I need to pay more attention to it because there may be fake citations, like there may be fake information in there. So I got
That's
to
a
be
good
more
point.
careful about reading it. So just fingerprinting it, maybe, I mean, just giving the benefit of doubt towards why it might be required. And yeah.
yeah. I
No,
think
you're
it goes
right. I mean,
along with social
yeah, I think,
platforms and
yeah, social. I've
the
completely,
validity.
yeah.
Yeah.
A post made by AI in social platform would be a really good use case. I was wrong. I mean, you're absolutely right. Then, especially election season and stuff, it becomes really, really important. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think this took inspiration from. I remember a few podcasts back, we covered Google has a spec for this fingerprinting chat responses. I think they use that. They haven't disclosed how they do it, but phrasing is the way they're fingerprinting it essentially. Um,
Interesting thing is you can exfiltrate thought tokens too. That was another article
what is
that
that?
came up this week.
What is it? What is it?
There was a paper that they're able to um, reconstruct what the reasoning tokens were for a particular response. Um, I forget the exact method. Maybe we can include it next time. But
Yeah.
essentially, they were able to how they're hidden on Anthropic, OpenAI. They hide the reasoning tokens. They give you a summary of it. Um, researchers were actually able to recreate what the thought tokens were, the reasoning tokens, and they could validate it because the tokens that they came up with matched what they were billed for. So you get billed for those reasoning tokens, but like what you see is different than what you're billed for because they don't show you the reasoning tokens. So they were actually able to recreate and
Interesting.
verify that they know what the reasoning tokens were that they're not sending you. So they are no longer hidden, and that has implications for distillation. So it, and this has been, I think they just first discovered it was like last year sometime.
Distillation should be legal completely. Everyone should be allowed to distill.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's like
Yeah.
sucking up the same data and distilling it in different ways, but
Yeah. Right, dude. Yeah. Exactly.
so it's possible to distill reasoning tokens even if they don't provide them.
Yeah. No, I see that. Totally see that. And I also see the justification too. You're charging me money. I want to see, right? How much tokens? Yeah. So I know you wanted to show your CMAX setup. Do you want to do that? Maybe let's have some fun.
Sure.
There should be a share screen thing at the bottom.
Do you see CMUX?
Nope.
Oh, here it comes. It just was delayed. Yeah, I didn't want to share my actual setup that I'm doing because it has everything. But I've been using CMUX. Our team uses Orca as well, if people want to check that out. But I found this good for organizing what I'm doing. So you can have different workspaces. So I just did.
Rob, can you take 30 seconds to describe what is this for
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
else?
Yeah. So the TMUX is like in a terminal, you can have multiple sessions and multiplex, essentially different screens or different terminals within one terminal. This is similar concept, but it's actually an application. It's not. It has terminals in it, but it also has a web browser. It has file browsing, so it's more than that. And I've kind of diverged from using an IDE for code development anymore. I use Zed just as like a file viewer, essentially, but everything else I'm doing through coding agents. So it's all terminal based. And so this helps me keep organized in terms of like what I'm actually working on and what I have in progress. It notifies you when an agent finishes, audibly and visually, so that you can know where things are at, what's going on, what you should go pay attention to. So for me, it's a way to organize it. And so there's different workspaces. Within the workspaces, you can have multiple terminal tabs. You can set them up in different ways, so you can have them side by side. So sometimes I will run like the server on this one, like npm run dev, so that you have server logs on one side, and you can be developing with Claude in this one. And each one of these can have multiple tabs. So you get, oops. So you can get multiple things going at once. You can set up your screen however you want, whatever works for your workflow. But then you can just switch workspaces and have a completely different setup for a different project or task that you're working on. Or it's really up to you how you set these up. For me, I'll have different personal projects in each one of these workspaces. I have multiple different customers, so I have separate workspaces for each of the customers, and it allows me to just like focus in on what I'm doing for that customer. Or if it's after hours and I'm working on a personal project, I can just be focused on that particular project. So it's a way for me to organize. There's also like file browsing. Let's see if I can get there it is. Over on the right. So you could open Markdown files and it renders them for you. So that's all built in. But yeah, I find it helpful just to keep myself organized. I have found myself using the Codex app for some projects as well.
Yeah.
It still works good with this because I have a separate workspace, and it matches up with a project that is in the Codex desktop app. So it's very easy to keep them in sync. One thing I hated about terminals in the IDE is they have updates to restart it, and then you kind of lose where you were at.
Yeah.
So one thing with CMux is it will actually retain all of these. So if I, we don't need to do the update, but I can just close it down. You can see the notes there. And then we open it back up. I should get exactly where we were at.
Nice.
So exactly how it was set up. The same tab. If you had a Claude session.
Yeah.
I think this is actually restoring my other one, which has all my other stuff, which is what's plus sharing your screen. Maybe
I don't.
But you can see it picked right up where it left off.
So how does it notify you? Assuming you have like 20 sessions running for multiple clients. One of the job finishes.
A message that comes up, plus the notifications are here in that menu of what it notified you. But it's integrated into the coding agent so that it knows like when it's waiting on something. So like when Claude gives you the user ask question, it will say, Claude needs your input. And if you click on it, it will take you to that exact pane where it came from. You're gonna have to go find it.
I like that. That's my problem. One problem. A problem. Yeah.
So like exactly where that message came from and what's waiting.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a few, like what Rob was talking about. One of the primary issues also is that it's persistent, right? Which is doesn't die even if you kill it, and it's backgrounded, so you can bring it back. If you have a network blip, you don't have to like lose the session, so to speak. And another thing which I've not done it in CMux. Again, I use TMux a lot. In TMux, one thing which happens is if you're using Claude or a subagent ready agent harness, then it can launch new subagent terminals, like, and show it to you like what each subagent is doing, rather than me having to like from the main console like down arrow and then go one by one and look at it. But rather instead I can actually fork off new terminals like through the multiplexer and have them for each subagent and view what's going on. So all that fancy stuff you can do, and CMux is certainly like what he's showing you is you get like a lot more power with it because it's got like this pre-built stuff. So if you're a Mac user, certainly CMux is way to go.
Is there a reason why it's not for Windows? I mean, it's just not built yet, or?
I have no idea. I've only been Mac, so I didn't even know whether it was available for Windows.
Who care about Windows user, man? That's awesome. I gotta try. I mean, I saw this. I was interested. Thanks for showing me this. I'll definitely install because I have an issue. I was getting out of control. iTarm. I still use iTarm. I'm still old school.
I'm continually trying new tools. So
yeah, love that. I think that's a wrap. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. I will. This is live. Obviously, it's posted out. If the clips comes out, I will share with them. Thank you so much for your time, Rob, Harry, as always. Take care. Bye.